Hello everyone, welcome to Temi Tensions Podium. My name is Temiloluwa Ogundele and I am your host on this platform. Today is an interesting episode packed with different inspirational conversation, discussions surrounding Nigerian politics and its dynamics. We have an amazing guest on our platform today. Is a policy and governance expert based in Canada, but then have various understanding and expertise when it comes to Nigerian politics. Is no other person than Olubunmi Ayantunji. Hi, Bumi.
Thank you very much for having me, Terry.
Right.
And of course, the whole expert thing, you'll be raising hopes of persons hearing your podcast. I'm just a Nigerian. I think that would suffice.
Okay, you're just a Nigerian, but an expert in policy and governance.
Let's see how that goes. We'll see.
All right. So today, Bumi will be speaking with us on the impact of the diaspora and communities on Nigerian politics, right? And we'll be having an interesting conversation. So feel free to drop your comments in the comment section, subscribe, and keep informed or stay tuned. So hi, Bumi. Today we'll be talking about Nigerian politics and we diasporans and the diaspora community at large. What do you think is the significance of the diaspora in Nigeria's socio-economic and political landscape?
I think I'll start from the very beginning, right? When people say, "Oh, Nigerians," the word "japa," let me use that word now. I think that's what your people want to hear. So let me use our local lingua, right? When people say, "Oh, these generations are leaving Nigeria, they are traveling out of the country, they are bailing on their countries," we would look at the etymology of all of this. This is not the first time we'd have a mass exodus of a particular demographic out of the country. You'd be regaled with news of how our fathers and fathers before them studied in awesome universities, the Ibro universities abroad. But the difference between now and then was that when they finished, they had a country to go back to. There were hopes. In fact, ministries, organizations, companies poached them right back to come back to their country. But now it's different. We have a very mass percentage of young persons who would finish school, even in Nigeria, and not get jobs, for example, or have no hopes of landing a job commensurate to their experience. However, in every country, not just Nigeria, you have migrations and immigrations. So Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigeria. Of course, people say, "Oh, Nigerians are everywhere in the world." Everyone knows, especially people that are in the UK or Canada, knows that Nigeria is not even the highest. You see, I don't want to mention nationalities now, but we're not even the largest or the largest amount of persons that leave their countries. No, we're not. So it's perfectly normal for citizens of a country to find abode or home in another country. It's a perfect phenomenon. However, also, there are disadvantages and advantages to this. It's not all gloomy. For example, foreign remittances in Nigeria, let's go to the economy now. It is at an all-time high. Do you know yourself now? Let's give an example. Can you remember how much you've sent? I don't want to use the word black tax now. Can you remember how much you sent to Nigeria in the last 1 month? There are charges to that. It adds to the economy and all of that. So the amount of foreign remittances are there. And secondly, a certain percentage or percentages of persons that are actually outside the country now will definitely go back. Some of us want to add to I wouldn't say the progress now, to the quality of leadership, to the quality of governance in our own country. So you can't just generally discountenance the word Japa. It's, to me, private, and I know people will have my head for this. It has more advantages than disadvantages. You have Nigerians now making, they are leading every sector in other countries. You have people that are bringing as much as, awesome reviews to the country. And young persons, though, you would not discountenance also the impact of brain drain. But you can't say something is a brain drain if there's no well to even drain from. When you say professionals that live in Nigeria. There's brain drain. What did you have for them before they left? You had nothing. So it's not brain drain. They are going to where they would use their expertise. So there's nothing on ground for them to dig from. There's no brain drain anywhere. Again, I do not think that as much as young persons or people are leaving Nigeria to diaspora, the significant impact would probably tank the country. I disagree on that. And I hope people will understand that this is my personal opinion, because your viewers would have my head for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's take this down. Let's narrow it down a little bit to the political landscape itself. Remember during the last election, there were issues and discussions about why are people in diaspora campaigning for a particular party in power, and why are they not, like, maybe because we don't actually feel the pain they feel. We don't know what's going on in Nigeria, so we shouldn't even somewhat exercise our political opinion or express our own right as citizens. I don't know, maybe they don't believe that we are citizens of Nigeria still, even if we're not like living in the country. But there's been this mentality, I would say, all over the world, especially in Nigeria, for Nigerians in Nigeria, that those in diaspora or the diaspora communities do not have a say in Nigeria politics. What do you think about that as well?
First of all, I think that's not just a cowardly statement, it's an insensitively selfish statement to make, that people abroad don't feel the pains of persons in Nigeria. I'll tell you a story, right? I have a friend that's a colleague from Nigeria, and about 3 months ago, he lost his brother. And the only reason why he lost his brother was, I think the guy had an accident on a very popular bridge in Nigeria, and then he got to the hospital, and they won't just treat him. Because they want payment. And simple first aid were not administered. They had to be calling people, and before he could get referred to another hospital, he died on the way. How would that not get to him? Nigeria happens to everybody anywhere. There's a popular saying amongst young persons like me: you go touch everybody. It's touching everybody. There's black tax. So when you say Nigerians abroad don't feel it, we feel it. Our parents are abroad. We have cousins. You cannot be totally detached. You can't put all your family, extended and nuclear, into a plane and bring them here. It's not possible. We feel it too. However, let me not get emotional about the whole thing. I'll go straight into the Electoral Act. While I was working in the Senate, the amendment to the Electoral Act was proposed, yeah, and there were pushes there here and there for diaspora voting, that Nigerians abroad should vote. However, I would have wished that some Nigerians abroad would probably push in the public hearing for their right to vote too. It was that particular clause in the bill was shut down because with the broad term, Nigeria is not ready for this. I disagree anyways, but we won't go into that. However, the Nigerians, I don't think there's a significant difference between the Nigerian in Nigeria and the Nigerian in Canada. For example, I'm still the same Bumi here. I still feel it. You know, my mother will still tell me about the price of rice in the market, the price of fuel. I know that my dad would used to travel between Benin, where his warehouse is, and our home in Osun. So I get it. I still get it. It touches me too. So I don't think people should discountenance that emotional link to Nigeria. So when you say Nigerians abroad are voting for a particular candidate because they don't feel what is happening, or they've lost touch with the ground, I think that's a selfish and cynical statement to make. Now, I also understand that despite their noise and their push probably to see Nigerians get better, they have their own status here to maintain. They have their family here to maintain. So there's so many things going on. So I would say that you cannot just break the link. People have every right to support who they support. It's a fundamental human right in Nigeria and anywhere they are, at least those in democratic institutions, those that travel to countries that have democratic institutions. It's a fundamental human right. And anybody has the right to support who they want to support. You can't discountenance that. And I strictly hope that if the diaspora voting clause can be returned and is accepted, the dynamics of politics in Nigeria would significantly change. There are a whole lot of Nigerians everywhere in the world. If Nigerians in diaspora vote, the dynamics would change. If it's not electronically tampered with, Anyways, and this is no accusation to anyone. If it's not tampered with, it will change the landscape of all that.
I mean, speaking about the ongoing protest and the issue of, ending bad governance in Nigeria, how do you really think that the diasporan communities can contribute? Because, I mean, I feel like since we all understand that most of the situation or everything that's happening in Nigeria, we still get affected by it. And I said we because I'm not in Nigeria at the moment, but then I've got families in Nigeria and, we have to send money home every now and then. So if we are still affected by it, so how do you think the diasporan community can come together to contribute and, make an impact, so to say, in this world? Because we only start making progress if we have a voice, if we are contributing, irrespective of our location. I think that would even help boost the request to, put in that electoral policy in place, if you see what I mean. So how do you think, the diaspora community can contribute to the situation in Nigeria at the moment, especially the situation about ending the bad governance in Nigeria?
Let me take you back historically, and I hope you have time.
Yeah.
One of the things that really amused me, or one of the things that I find really confusing as a young man, is that the people currently leading Nigeria are products of protests. Most of them ran away as fugitives to other countries and protested from other countries, just like we're talking about diasporans now.
Yeah.
They protested in embassies, wrote letters, condemned the military government, had underground radio. I wouldn't want to mention names so that they won't shut down a podcast. Most of them were very, very vocal against bad governance. They protested, they were on ground. Most of them were even locked up. They lead the country now, and they're saying protest should not hold. I won't say it's embarrassing, and I hope your people there can give me the best word to use now. But it speaks. The irony is lost on me. That's number one. So you're saying how can we help with the old protesting? First of all, I align 100% with the protesters. There's no protest in the world that is 100% without skirmishes here and there. So saying you walk on the front line and just carry placard, was that how they did it when they did their own protest? There have been protests against every government, massive protests since the beginning of democracy in Nigeria, against Obasanjo, against Jonathan, against Yaradua, against Buhari. Why must these people's protests be different? And most of them that are in government now, president, I dare say, led protests against governors, against president in the past. Now, persons are saying they want to peacefully protest. You're using these old sabotage arguments that some persons will hijack the protest. Why do we have the NSA? Why do we have the security organizations to protect protesters? Why are you using life rounds on protesters? These were things you condemned in your young age and you're coming to support in your old age. Their life is a bag of irony. What are you scared of? What exactly are you scared of? And you would understand that most of the ruling elites, when the protesters gave a notice, most of the ruling elites ran away from the country. And that sent a message to young persons that the fraction of persons ruling the country can be overrun within seconds. And I'm not inciting insurrection here. They are scared, and it's the truth. They are scared of the unity or coherence of an army of young person with the sincerity of purpose to end bad governance in Nigeria. If only we can be unified, as we say. Now, how can people in diaspora help? When they were in the Nadeco days, they would write letters to embassies. They would protest on their own. During NSAS, you saw there were protests in at least 10 countries of the world. Yeah, but the NSAS situation, a lot of 90% of the time, it was like Nigerians are just speaking to the air, because I know they started tagging different international organizations, and at the end of the day, I don't think Nigerians were speaking to the air recently, right? There was a, and I know you're a lawyer. There was a judgment from the Supreme Court of Nigeria making somebody that came fourth in an election. That's one of the judiciary, like Prof. Joe, like one of my learned professors would say, like, that's the most, that's an all-time low in the history of judiciary in Nigeria. Where somebody that came fourth in an election was declared the governor of the state in the Supreme Court ruling, and the judges or the learned Supreme Court judges on the bench then, when people wrote petitions to the embassy, were refused visa to some states in the world. Now, there are many ways to protest, and circling protest to just the streets is just too cynical. You can write letters, you can make appeals to governments, you can sign petitions and all of that. I think that diasporans can take charge of that because there are Nigerian embassies everywhere. Bringing international awareness to a conscious civil unrest is as easy as it is hard. So Nigerians in diaspora can actually push further to maybe write letters, Also, there are governors in Nigeria that have written, that organizations, civil society organizations have written against to the US. And when they make investigations into those petitions, they issue sanctions. Till today, fairly, there are some politicians in Nigeria that cannot enter the United States.
Yeah.
Because of, letters from citizens that have been found to be true. Yeah. And I think that should be used extremely at this point. However, there are some political undergrounds to all of this, with some governments of powerful countries supporting the government in Nigeria because they have some meeting of the minds and all that. However, diasporans cannot just sit and watch. Would give our alliance to our brothers on the streets that are courageous enough to seek good governance. Also, we should understand that. How would you say people should not protest when the Senate president of the largest Black nation in the world is saying that while citizens protest, it will be eaten? That is one of the most insensitive statements from a public official.
Yeah.
This man has been local government chairman, has been governor for 8 years, has been minister for 8 years, and now the Senate president. He speaks so much from an exalted point of view that he does not see the need. He cannot relate again. He cannot relate with poverty anymore. He's so far detached from an average Nigerians. And the protest is only to bring them down and see, look at us here. And the truth is, just like the popular saying, you cannot kill an idea. You cannot kill an idea whose time has come. Yeah. If they are able to quell this protest because of how, for me, and I'll say it here, I think one of the reasons they were able to do all of that they did with this protest was because, a formal warning was issued. We are protesting for 10 days. Protests that would break out will be so organic. It will start from the minutest thing, and if these people do not address what is currently happening in the country, it will overrun everybody. And I'm not being a prophet of doom, but they can only stifle this thing for a short period of time. When the time comes, everybody will not have anything to hide, and the Senate president that is saying he will be eating will not even find a plate, and that's the truth.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was speaking with a friend earlier today, and we're talking about the whole situation in the country, and he made mention of something about most of these public officials not having access to what's going on around them, not being aware, and he also explained that that's like the reasons why they have AIDS, who go on social media, gather information, or this information and share with this person, with this public official. Some of them are engaged in like 24 hours meeting. And this is not me defending the Senate president now. This is just me saying that, is it that most of these aides or these special advisors and stuff are not capable of holding those positions in order to, in a way that they relate some of this information, some of these happenings in the community to these public officials. And trust me, I am not defending, the Senate president.
I know you're not. But the truth is, one thing you should understand that the people elected the official, not the SAs or SSAs. You owe the mandate of the people in trust for them. You've been in civilized countries or developed countries, as they call it. You know that most of their public officials are the poorest of the people.
Yeah.
You know that most of these public officials that are up there use public utilities, so they understand. However, in Nigeria, leadership is reflective of the people. You can't take the people out of this now. So these people grew up in poor homes.
Yeah.
A former president in Nigeria said he had no shoes.
Yeah.
Now, can you believe somebody that had no shoes growing up would still manage a country where the out of school children's number is the largest in Africa. It's a bag of, the whole problem is somehow even confuses us that you're poor and then you get to a position to make things right and you still couldn't do it. Now, here is my own theory. It's the fact that leadership in Nigeria is a bubble.
Yeah.
They insulate you from the people. Once you get there, you have just yes men around you. Everything is fine, sir. The people, you're doing so well, sir. So nobody really goes, leaders don't really go out of their way to find out on spot what happens. Some of them do it. I've known governors in this country that will sometimes wake up at night, drive themselves to project sites and see what is going on. Now, that might be performative, but that is leadership. Going there to see what is happening yourself.
Yeah.
At least this was where you stayed when you were growing up. Some of them grew up in thatched houses, and it's the truth.
Yeah.
So a leader is elected, not the SSA. You should not rely on your SSAs and let's say you should have your own vision. Most of them, a former president in this country denied his own manifesto. What are you talking about? He doesn't even know his own manifesto. So I think leadership is reflective of the people. When we elect persons, I wrote a piece on one of the things I said in the piece. Nigeria is governed by its own enemy. When we know people's antecedents, we know persons that have managed maybe 70 cows for 7 years and they are not even productive, and we vote for somebody like that. You understand? We know persons that have made a wealthy generation for themselves out of public monies, and we still vote for them. You can't plant orange and let me not put it on the people here, but we should understand again that leadership is reflective of the people itself. We have policemen that would randomly just shoot at young persons because they won't let them search their cars. Are the police elected too? I have a friend that is in Canada because and he might watch your podcast because randomly he was on his way to bury his grandmother in Edo State. And because he's on a lone road, he met the police and they just told him, you have to give us 3,000 or we rob you in. Real issue. He was so scared. Because they would have killed him there and nothing would have. When you have the security institution that is meant to protect the people turned against them, then you are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. And I think, like some pundits would say, MSAS is just like a precursor of what is coming. And I'm not being a prophet of doom, but then these people need to understand that if things continue like this, there will be a breaking point.
Yeah.
To boil over. Nigeria cannot continue like this perpetually. There'll be a generation that, like they say on Twitter, you've messed with the wrong generation. There'll be a generation that would say no. So again, as much as we put it on the leadership, Nigerians need to have another approach to voting, another approach to relating with fellow Nigerians. You go into offices in the ministries. I have a director that believes that in Nigeria, the civil service or the people have a lot to do than the leadership. Why? Because, for example, you go to a ministry in Nigeria and you see most of them watching movies, Hollywood movies there. Like, I want to sign this paper, for example. And there's a guy, you have to pay so amount for a public service. And those leaders too, they deliberately stall your file. They will stall it. You won't go anywhere. And those leaders too. So our general approach to offering services would need to change. Contractors do roads, and they do roads that will spoil in 3 months. Are those leaders too? So the whole system needs to be overhauled. While we talk about the leaders, we should know that the people produce the leader. We should not vote because he's Yoruba, he's Igbo, he's Hausa. That's the wrongest way. How have they, for example, the Northerners have produced the highest number of leaders in Nigeria. Have you been to the North lately? They say this is no disrespect to. I have Northern friends. There is no disrespect to the North, and I hold them in high esteem. But then the number of out-of-school children in the North, have you seen that? The illiteracy, have you seen that? Our leaders have deliberately weaponized ignorance. Deliberately impoverished the people. Like intentionally made sure the people do not rise. That is terrible. And that would not be, that is not sustainable. Frankly, as long as there's life, all of this is not sustainable. As long as the people of Nigeria are talking about this and they are not listening, there will be a boiling point.
All right. Thank you so much, Bumi, for joining us on this platform. This has been a very interesting conversation, and I could feel the passion, when you're talking about this particular topic. And I'm sure most people in Nigeria, Nigerians in Nigeria, would be able to see that people in diaspora world, or the diasporans generally, are still interested in what's going on in Nigeria. And they are not just interested, they are willing to take steps. These steps include, writing letters, or, forming like a community, both on Twitter or all social media platforms, to let people know that they are engaging in everything that's going on in Nigeria. So this is quite reassuring, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will also find this very interesting and reassuring as well. So let people in Nigeria know that they are not alone. They've got people in the diaspora world that are still affected by bad governance and are willing to support them in every decision they've made. Thank you so much, Bumi, for joining us on this show.
Thank you
now
very much for
we've come
having
to
me.
the end of the show. It's been an interesting one. My viewers had a lot to learn, and they've learned a lot. But trust me, you can put in your comments, your opinions and thoughts in the comment section, and we'll be engaging you actively. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get notified on any episode and also have access to our sneak peek scenes. Until next time, keep exploring, keep shining bright, and keep learning. Bye.